So we have 15 minutes or so for questions, and you can ask that of the Fresno trio or of the two professors. And if I don't see an immediate hand, then I'll ask the first question, which is to Alex. Yeah, come up. Be ready to be singled out. So the question for Alex is this. Some of the companies that we talk to, some of them are competitors, some of them are partners, and this is a question that really any of you should feel free to answer. They say that the big impediment to having this technology utilized and successfully utilized is the lack of capacity in city governments to really do a good job in taking advantage of the data streams that are flowing at the decision makers. That even when the big data runs through an analytics program and is delivered in a way that's comprehensible and not just raw data, it's still difficult for many cities, given the capacity they have within their IT department or their transportation department or their buildings department or any other department, it's difficult for them to make that actionable. How important is that factor, in your view, in taking the powerful technologies we've heard about and seeing them to transform cities? Alex, start with you, and then we'll...
I'll start, but I'm sure I want to pass it to you, because I'd be very curious to hear your point on it. I think you are absolutely correct that a lot of, I wouldn't even generalize your statement beyond cities. I would say government agencies in general might not always have the right IT department to handle the data analytics themselves. And I think the key in making these transformations happen is for these institutions to subcontract the proper private sector firms to do it. And that's a real challenge, because California has a lot of IT laws, and subcontracting IT with, for example, for the California Department of Transportation is difficult. I don't know how difficult it is at the city level, but certainly I would say the private sector revolution is happening fast enough that government agencies might not be tooled for doing this in-house. And the truth is, probably in-house is probably not right either. I mean, I think the right set of partnerships, which might involve academia, government, and industry, are a good trio to do that. So we certainly see this with the California Department of Transportation, and that's why I was showing the procurement procedures, and I'm sure that at the city level you probably have similar challenges to face.
We do, and actually now is the time that municipalities are really partnering with the private sector, because we can't do it all in-house. And yet there's so much common data that we can share cross-agency. Right now, City of Fresno, basically our downtown revitalization, and actually in the neighborhoods department is working with Fresno Unified and the Housing Authority to share data that can...
Fresno Unified is the school district.
Is the school district, yeah. Right. That can share data. So an example for that is, say you go into a impoverished neighborhood, and a code enforcer, we don't like to call them code enforcers anymore, we call them community revitalization specialists, because we don't want to be punitive. So they'll go and address a code violation, but they'll realize that, say, this particular house is infested with something. Well, they now can have a connection with the housing authority, who actually subsidizes that landlord and will withhold that rent, the next rent check, until they resolve the issue at the home. Well, there could be a student in that same home who's having a attendance problem because of a chronic health condition that he's living in. So that common data is now, we're talking about sharing it, but we can't do it individually. That's where we have to bring in that private-public partnership.
Good. Another question here. Introduce yourself to everybody, please.
Yes, my name is Jean-Claude Van Duzen from EDF Inc. I have a question for Alexandre, and also from people from Fresno. Alexandre, do you try to treat the huge amount of data you can collect in order to develop forecasting models, for example, to forecast, I don't know, the effect of an heavy rains or work on the road and something like that?
Yes, and in fact I should use this as an opportunity to acknowledge the partnership we've had with IBM, and in particular John Paul Jacob, who was here a couple minutes ago. I think what you're saying is exactly right. I think the amount of data we have today enables us to do forecast. Forecast is dangerous too, because 60% of congestion in California is actually due to accidents, which unless you're in Minority Report in a science fiction setting, you can't forecast. But the truth is, you can certainly forecast a lot of things, and it's, as you were also saying, not only due to recurrent congestion, but weather will induce different traffic patterns, which you can see as well. And from there, you can infer a lot. I mean, I think what would be extremely interesting, and especially in the light of working with Fresno and the partnership that Hugh is trying to build, is there's a whole chain from weather to congestion and to pollution and emissions and health impacts. And I think this is a little bit of the golden trophy that you would like to achieve, to have that whole connection made. And I think there are a lot of different research happening in the private sector, but certainly, again, I think it's something which can only happen if we have this nice partnerships, and we love to work with Fresno on this.
Do you want to talk about the forecasting with the general plan?
Yeah, I do, because I think it actually goes back to the first question. Do local governments have the capacity to act or make policy decisions based on, comprehensive data, and that data then portrayed in a way that's understandable for the electeds? And in the case of the city of Fresno, it's absolutely true that we can use the data. We have used the data. Using the data through the analysis tools that we used for the general plan update allowed us to quantitatively show that continued sprawl was not only not in the interest of the ag community, but also not in the interest of all of the residents of the city of Fresno. And we got complete buy-in from our city council to hold the line with the GP update to the existing sphere of influence. And that data and the analysis created an extraordinary collaboration and alliance of various parties that historically had never been allied before. So having alliances, say, between the ag interests and the environmental community and the low-income neighborhoods, this was extraordinary. It had never happened before. We filled our council chambers with over 300 people 2 nights in a row till midnight. Mothers with children in their arms were standing before the city council pleading with them to adopt a general plan that held the line and stop the continuing sprawl. This has never happened before.
Gordon, maybe just to add on a comment.
Yes.
Because, we are talking about the data owned maybe by the public authorities, but we have also a different kind of data that's the people themselves. I mean, they construct this data, like carpooling, for example, system. Like today, you have also some applications in cities to treat, for example, how is the level of security in each district, etc. So this data is more like public data, I mean, at the origin. And so then we use it. I mean, there is a model on that data, and I don't know about the authorities, how they think about this kind of data. I mean, they could collect it, they could use it. Do you have this kind of?
For instance, the partnership we have with Pacific Gas and Electric Company, which is a private utility. They're investor-owned, but they are state-regulated. They have all of the data on energy use for their entire service territory, down to zip code +4, down to the exact location of each individual user. We have access to that data. We work with them with that data. It helps us then target our delivery of our energy efficiency programs, both for our residential and commercial property owners. And using that data to back up what we have accrued over the years provides an added level of credibility when we go out and speak with policy makers. They then have the confidence that this is not just local government, this is not just the staff of the city that is talking, this is also private sector. And so it adds a whole new level of credibility to the discussion.
Good. We had another question. Yes, sir. Please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Ami Amarnath Apri. This question is for the 3 folks from the city of Fresno. You talked about water being a big need, and large percentage of agricultural land is irrigated. And also you talked about getting the wireless broadband. So I was wondering if you have done any analysis or if you have any data on how much water has been saved because of the introduction of wireless and the knowledge gained from that. And furthermore, have you done any analysis to look at how much energy is saved? Because irrigation involves pumping, involves energy use. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if you have any data or any percentage or anything that you can give us.
That's our last question, since we're being told we have to finish at 15 minutes before the hour.
Actually, this development of this technology is so new, we don't actually have a lot of data out there. What is happening is there are new startup companies that recognize the opportunity both on the energy efficiency side and also on the water efficiency side, where there's new technology coming in that, and I won't cite the company, but one company has come in, and it's actually a combination of the actual hardware irrigation systems plus the software that manages how the water is placed at specific plants. And the range of their users is they can save up to about, well, their claim is that up to about 40% reduction in the amount of water used in the same acreage, and potentially in some cases doubling the production or yield. And so this is a case where it's not a case where you use less water and you would accept some less production. You actually got greater production. It's more the science on the agriculture side where that's applied to specific plants. There's new technology like that keeps coming. And the inducement is, the key part of it is that the scarcity and the cost of water, and in addition to that, that same technology can be applied to energy usage, because the number one user of energy actually in California is the movement of water across the state. And so anything that would make that more efficient has a large impact as well.
So we'll have to close on that if we're going to finish on time, and Gabriel's giving me the eye, like we have to start at 4:45 sharp. So I want to thank our 5 experts very much.